It's really important that community members understand what hazards exist in their local community area that may not exist in others. For example, if an area lives close to a railway line or a chemical plant, those kinds of man-made disasters, if you will, could impact the people that are in that surrounding area much more than people that don't live there. But the approaches that seem to work involve supporting local organizations and local neighborhood networks to be able to connect on a regular basis and in an open and non-threatening manner where everyone is the expert, bringing in government partners to provide some content and some updates or information from the local authorities, but allowing those natural linkages to develop and to strengthen and to keep it as a regular meeting point, even using tabletop exercises where you might envision a certain disaster happening and have a chance to walk through what would happen in our area if that happened, who would be affected, what might we expect, and even to pose those questions to local authorities and maybe get clear answers in advance. Sometimes it's difficult to anticipate everything that can happen, and even with the best planning, sometimes things will result that you just couldn't have anticipated, but it's a much stronger position to be in, having met with one another and knowing where you're heading together and at least being able to work together that way.
We have heard and seen how lives can be impacted without a plan, and we've also seen common disasters. Now let's look at creating plans to respond to any emergency or disaster.
Too many times our members have responded to emergencies that were predictable and preventable. Protect yourself and your family. Make it a priority to have an emergency plan.
I'm a senior and a member of Good Neighbors Senior Center, and became aware of the fact that people in my age, older persons, do not feel that we have the same kind of supports in place that we used to have, or we think we don't have them. And so I work to develop workshops for seniors, and we work through Good Neighbors to offer these workshops to people to help them to be prepared for emergencies or disasters.
I plan to stay alive.
Planning starts by identifying the roles you may have to play in response to an emergency. Familiarize yourself with critical areas of your home in response to various situations. Create an evacuation plan with the members of your household and practice the plan to ensure everyone is confident in the role they may play in evacuation. Cover alternate meeting locations, escape routes, and family communications plans, such as ERIC kits that can be easily stored on the refrigerator. Consider a utilities shut-off plan. For electrical, first locate the circuit box and shut off individual circuits before the main circuit breaker. Having this knowledge is particularly helpful during floods and where there is potential for gas leaks. Polluted water lines can have a lasting impact on your household. Locate the main shut-off and label it for ease of identification during a crisis. Gas leaks can be responsible for fires during a disaster, and you may be instructed to shut it off. Contact your local gas company for shut-off procedures. Always have a qualified professional turn the gas on for you.
My depression makes me vulnerable during a time of disaster, so I must have a plan if I expect to survive. Do you have a plan?
To make sure my home is safe and I am safe during an emergency. I have a home safety plan for evacuation and sheltering in place. I have a first aid kit, Go Kit, and Eric, and I have a group of people who will check on me and attend to my unique needs. I have even taken a first aid, CPR course. I am ready.
Evacuations typically happen with very little notice. Advanced planning will help you to be better prepared wherever you might be in the community. Identify the assistance you will need to evacuate. Make a habit of identifying exits when you are in new locations. Make alternate transportation plans. The method you use may not be available. Practice your plan teaching members of your support network what their roles are. Ensure your plans include methods of communicating that support people in understanding your needs. If you have time, close and lock windows and doors and let your PSN know that where you are going, and don't forget your Go Kit.
A Go Kit is perhaps a gym bag, some type of container, a backpack that you have put in some very basic supplies that you're going to quickly grab with you if you need to evacuate from an area. So you're going to put in things like one change of clothing, some medication if you're on medication, perhaps a little bit of money, a flashlight, a few snacks, some water. Just some of those basic things that you can grab with you that's going to sort of tide you over until you arrive at a reception center and can kind of sort out what types of things you need to be doing at the reception center. One thing that's important, I think, to consider is that you may have to change the contents of the bag depending on the weather or depending on the time of year. So obviously if you're preparing one for the winter months, you're going to have some heavier clothing than if you're preparing one for the summer months. So you may be changing the things out of your Go Kit a couple of times a year. And plus also things like medication. If you've placed some medication in there, you want to make sure that you're using it and replacing it with fresh stuff so that you've always got a reasonable supply. Or if you're not leaving medication right in the kit, you need to put a note onto your Go Kit that reminds you of the things that aren't yet in your bag that you need to quickly grab your pills or whatever it is that you need.
You're probably familiar with the flood experiences that we have had here in Manitoba. That has brought the disability community together to identify a number of problems involving communication of natural disasters. So a group of people have been working towards the goal of improving communication for the disability communities. One example is that there will be news flashes to let people know in the event of a tornado, a flood, or any other natural disaster. So programs would be interrupted to give you a news bulletin. There will not just be the English captioning, but also a sign language, American Sign Language interpreter visible on the screen as well. Another solution to the communication problem is to have Blackberries and pagers be put into a database so that in the event of an emergency, within a matter of minutes, a warning could go out via that technology. Much like the community that can hear a special alarm that would indicate an emergency, for those of us that cannot hear, this would come out via a text message to a Blackberry or a cell phone, so that you would then know to protect yourself. If you have a computer in your home, it is possible for you to go into the Weather Network site, and you can either identify a mobile cell phone or a Blackberry, and in that way receive messages through the Weather Network directly to your device, which will also provide messages in the event of weather warnings.
One of the things that you can do to help yourself during a disaster is be part of a phone tree. If you could establish a list of phone numbers and people surrounding you, not your family, but others, that can call you or you call someone else to check on them after a disaster, so that it's kind of like a tree where one checks on another and another checks on another too. And then especially those folks that are alone or at risk will be checked on and to make sure they're all right.